Hello class, my name is Brian Wright and I conducted my research project on Bombardier's operation management issues as it relates to their latest airliner project, the C Series. This presentation will be broken down into three main parts. We'll start out with the company overview, then we'll look at the Bombardier operations management strategies to include product decisions, location decisions, supply chain management, project planning, and aggregate planning. Then at the end, we'll wrap everything up with the conclusions that I found through my study, and the final slide will have a list of references that I used throughout the project. Bombardier is an aircraft manufacturing company with headquarters located in Montreal, Canada. Like many manufacturers in the aviation industry, they have a global presence, and as you will see later on in this presentation, they have suppliers and manufacturing facilities around the world. Bombardier's aerospace branch focuses on two product lines, one being business aircraft and the other being commercial or airline aircraft. This study will focus specifically on the commercial aviation with the development of the C Series aircraft. So now let's take a look at Bombardier's operation management strategies. In 1986, Bombardier acquired Canadair and soon after came to the market with their Canadair regional jet program. And in the 1990s, this program really put Bombardier in the spotlight and center stage when it comes to regional airline transportation. Their perfect market timing is based on these five items: current market concerns, especially as it relates to turboprop aircraft, fuel prices, regulations, technology improvements, and manufacturing costs. We will then look at these same five items as it relates to Bombardier's C Series program and the decision to get into the larger aircraft manufacturing. Starting in the 1990s, the general public started to witness an increase in turboprop aircraft accidents. Probably the most infamous of these accidents was the 1994 Roselawn, Indiana ATR aircraft accident. Because of this accident, the general public started to get a misconception that turboprop aircraft were unsafe. And to Bombardier's benefit, they were able to play off this fear and in a way use it as a springboard to help launch their CRJ program. Now, considering the airline safety record in the U.S. market, the last fatal airline accident was the Colgan Air flight going into Buffalo, New York into 2009. This impeccable safety record in the U.S. means that any competitive advantage that Bombardier has once held has been lost. Considering fuel prices, in the 1990s, we experienced a drop in fuel price, which helped to negate the advantage that turboprop aircraft had over jets in the short-haul, low-altitude market that the regional jets typically performed in. Similarly, in the 2010 to 2015 timeframe, we've also experienced a drop in fuel prices. The C-Series aircraft was once touted as having a competitive advantage by being more fuel efficient than its competitors. This advantage has since been minimized because of this drop in price. Considering regulations in the 1990s, the major airlines started to incorporate scope clauses in their contracts with regional carriers to limit regional jet capacity to no more than 50 seats. Bombardier was the first to market with their CRJ aircraft and was able to use differentiation by offering a product that appeared to add value to the flying public by being safer while also adhering to the scope clauses that the major carriers were having on their regional counterparts. Likewise, for the C Series aircraft, there is no scope clauses that give this product a competitive advantage. The development of higher bypass jet engine and improved thrust to weight ratios helped to minimize the difference in fuel burns between aircraft types. This made operating jet aircraft on shorter routes more economical and closed the gap on cost differences due to higher fuel burns. This, coupled with improvements in cabin comfort that comes with jets, helped to increase demand. The most noticeable improvement was the reduced noise in the cabin with jet engines over their turboprop counterparts. This made the CRJ aircraft an elite aircraft for air transportation. The C Series aircraft, while it uses a geared turbofan engine, also has some fuel efficiency advantages. However, other manufacturers are now coming to market with the same engine, thus taking away any competitive advantage that Bombardier once held. One of the biggest differences between the CRJ aircraft and the C Series aircraft is the manufacturing costs, specifically research and development costs. The C Series aircraft is a clean sheet design, which means it's not based on any previous models. It's all fresh, it's all new. The CRJ, on the other hand, was built on Bombardier's already successful Challenger 600 series business aircraft. This made the research and development costs significantly lower and also reduced the time to market. Bombardier's corporate headquarters is located in Montreal, Canada. This has probably had the biggest impact on the company overall. Since 1966, it has been estimated that Bombardier has received $4.1 billion worth of assistance from the government. This is huge when it comes to profitability and is one of the main reasons Bombardier is still in business today. The U.S. aviation industry is considered the largest in the world, and with final assembly locations in Mobile, Alabama and Montreal, Canada, their proximity to market is perfect and it gives them an advantage in that area. The availability of supplies, however, is a disadvantage for Bombardier. While the final assembly plants are located in the US and Canada, parts are shipped in from around the world, which means added cost to the final product. These costs, according to the Toyota production system, is waste and should be eliminated. Aircraft are complex pieces of equipment that require collaborative effort between assemblers and suppliers. It would be virtually impossible for an aircraft manufacturer such as Bombardier, Boeing, Airbus, or even Embraer to produce a product without outsourcing some of the manufacturing of some of the components. To break into the aerospace industry, Bombardier used a technique early on of vertical integration to assist in their supply chain efficiency. In 1986, they bought aircraft manufacturer Canadair, followed by Shorts in 1989, Learjet in 1990, and de Havilland in 1992. This allowed Bombardier to expedite the development of the CRJ by utilizing these now in-house supplies and technology. As demand changed over the years, Bombardier was able to continue to expand on the CRJ due to its robust design and create the 700 model, the 900 model, and the 1000 model. The interchangeability of components in all these airframes show that the CRJ has a robust design and can be used to reduce development costs and keep the organization responsive to changing demand. The supply chain, however, looks very different under the C-Series project and could be a contributing factor as to why the project ended up being way over budget. The main assembly plant is located in Mirabel Airport in Quebec, which uses 4 assembly lines to build the aircraft with parts that, as you can see, are manufactured around the world. There's no other way to look at the Series project management other than a pure failure. The first issue is the infinite loading of the research and development teams as they were tasked with several projects at the same time. For example, the Learjet 85 and the Global 7000 projects were both run concurrently alongside the C-Series project. This both put a financial and manpower strain on the company that ultimately had to be overcome by a government bailout. Demand for the aircraft also seemed to be overestimated, and ultimately, even though it was over 2 years late to the market, Bombardier had to turn over 50.01% interest into the program to Airbus to support the ongoing expense of manufacturing of the product. In order to be useful, an aggregate plan needs to have a logical unit to measure sales and output, along with an accurate forecast of demand for the next 3 to 18 months, and a method to calculate costs combined with demand forecasts so a production schedule can be determined. With the sale of a majority stake in the C-Series program, Airbus has agreed to cover the majority of all associated future costs. This simplifies planning on Bombardier's part and frees up capital that can now be used for continued production of their products and paying down debt. Forecasting demand can be a little trickier in the airline manufacturing business, as customers typically buy in bulk to take advantage of deep pricing discounts. This, of course, creates spikes in the demand, and unless production capacity can handle the additional orders, most manufacturers in the industry will use a backorder strategy in order to meet their aggregate plans. The advantage of using this strategy is that production capacity is kept at a constant level and labor costs are minimized with the avoidance of overtime pay. The addition of the assembly plant in Mobile is a good example of varying their workforce in an attempt to meet the plan requirements. The production rate here and at other locations can also be varied with the addition of overtime to meet increasing demand if that happens in the future. The C-Series program was very different from previous programs that Bombardier brought to market. This was the organization's first clean sheet design, and this brought significant challenges to the company, the largest of which was the hefty initial capital investment to get research and development going. Bombardier was on the brink of financial collapse until their location strategy would pay huge dividends in the form of government assistance. Without this assistance, the organization would not have survived. As fuel prices slowly tick up, the demand for the 150-seat airline market has started to heat up. Newcomers to the RJ market include Mitsubishi Aircraft, Sukhoi, a division of the Russian civil aerospace company UAC, and a Chinese organization that manufactures the C919. Bombardier, very similar to the timeline in the early 90s with the CRJ, once again has a competitive advantage of being first to market with their C-Series product. Bombardier, however, will need to stay agile with responsive goods and continue to look for ways to add value to their products by differentiation. The current backlog of aircraft orders means that cost leadership is not needed. Accurate economic, technological, and demand forecasting will need to be used to stay on track with the company's aggregate plan. The backlog will have to be closely watched, and if customers are no longer willing to wait, then capacity options will have to be exercised to stay on track with aggregate planning. Lastly, Bombardier needs to invest and focus on incorporating leaner operations. The elimination of waste through non-value adding transportation costs erodes the organization's bottom line and only delays further entry into the more profitable operations. Having suppliers in closer proximity to assembly plants would prove to eliminate a large amount of waste. I hope you found this presentation informative, and thanks for watching.